Hey guys, let's talk tech. Today I'm back with another video for our front-end developers. So today we're just going to be creating a simple navigation bar. It's a glossy navigation bar where we're gonna create it. So here I already created an index.html file. I've already created the boilerplate of the HTML. So in this HTML, we're just going to need few CDNs. So if we just gonna need few CDNs, if we go to Chrome and search for Google fonts, Google fonts. So in here we're just gonna click the first link. From this first link we're just going to I can see now that their website has changed, because the last time I came here the website was still Poppins. So the font that we need is Poppins. So if we click on Poppins, then on Poppins we're just gonna take this light 300 font. I'm just gonna take this regular for 500. I think those are the two, maybe thin 100, right? Maybe those two, but I think already have another. We're gonna remove the italic. We have the regular. We're gonna remove the semi bold, the extra bold, black 700. So we're gonna take this only these two. So we're gonna copy this link here and go back to our index file, then paste this link underneath here. So this is our CDN for the Poppins font, right? For this Poppins font that we're gonna use. Then the other thing that we're gonna need is we go back to Chrome. We're gonna need Tailwind CDN, the CDN for Tailwind, but you can just install it using npm. So you can come to this tab called Play CDN. So as you can see here, you have this CDN right here, but you have to know that this CDN cannot be used in production. It's only for development purposes, right? This one is only for development purposes. If you need the one that you're gonna use for production, you can just come here to framework guidelines and check your framework here. You check for Next.js, for React with Vite or Laravel, PHP framework, all other, or the standard Create React app and other frameworks. Or you can just use the Tailwind CLI. Come here to the Tailwind CLI, then take npm install -d Tailwind and everything. Then you can use it. You can install it using npm or yarn, right? Those package manager. So let's go back to our code here. Let's just say we're gonna have another file, css.css, right? So we're just gonna say css.css. It's a weird name, I know. Then we're just gonna come here, up top here. So we're gonna link our file, right? We're gonna link that css file. So we're gonna say relationship rel, which is style sheet, right? Style sheet. This is our style sheet. Then we're gonna say href, which is gonna be /css. So because it's in the same directory as our index.html. But if it was on a different directory, we was going to say / the file name, then the directory that the css file is on, right? If we go to say go live on this one, if we do go live now, we can see that we do not have anything yet, because we do not have anything yet on our boilerplate, on our HTML boilerplate. So now we can just create a navigation. We can just do a nav tag, right? So in this nav tag, right, we're gonna have a class, right? We're gonna have a class which is gonna be navigation dash container, right? Navigation container. But it's not necessary to have these classes, just to name our classes, because we're just going to use Tailwind, and Tailwind doesn't need you to create external classes. But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to reset the browser's defaults, right? I'm just gonna take this, and then I'm gonna say star, then I'm gonna select the after the after and pseudo class, and we're gonna say before pseudo class. So we're gonna take this two pseudo class. On this two pseudo class, we're gonna say margin. We're gonna take margin is gonna be 0. We're gonna check padding. So what we are doing in this 3 line is just that we are resetting all the default margin, right? All the default margin that the browser provides on around the elements. So we're just gonna say, okay, reset everything to margin of 0 and padding of 0 and border box and box sizing of border box, right? We're just gonna change box sizing of border box. Then on our body, right, on our body, just to be precise, we can just do dash dash. We can just do root. We can just do root, right? And just do root. Then here we're gonna have our primary. I meant to say dash dash primary dash font. Our primary font, which is gonna be what? Remember, the CDN for the fonts that we used is gonna be Poppins. Then if Poppin is not available, use sans serif, right? Use sans serif, right? So that's our, so this is our variable that we use. So on body, we want to take the body tag and reset our font family. Not our font family. We're just gonna use the shortcut font family. So we're just gonna return our font family. On this font family, we're just going to say to use our variable, which is gonna be our primary font. Which means if we go back to Edge, we don't have anything yet. What am I doing? Okay, let's go back to our index. Then on our index, right? On our index, we're gonna have we're just gonna have our h1 tag. From this h1, we're just gonna say nav bar, right? So this is gonna be our logo, nav bar. So on this nav bar, if we go back and reload, right, if you go back and reload this page, you can see now, because we are using live extension, you can see that now our padding is what we no longer have the browser's default padding around boxes, right? So if you go back there to our file and just comment out everything from up to bottom, then if you go back to our file, if you see now, when it refreshes, you can see now, okay, another thing is that Tailwind automatically, Tailwind by default, right? Tailwind by default applies this for us. Tailwind by default applies this for us. But if we go back here and try to comment out the Tailwind CDN, right? If we come back there, you can see now I have another extension that let's go to manage extension, and then let's toggle in this extension. So this extension will help us see, right, will help us see which elements have more spacing and which elements doesn't have more spacing. Then if we see here, we can see that the browser has the default padding and default margin and the default padding around elements. But if we can go back here, if we uncomment this, I really forgot that Tailwind by default resets the you can see now it resets the h1 tag. It also resets the padding and margin around the element, which means our file is no longer necessary, but our reset properties are no longer necessary, which means it's this one. So are no longer necessary, which means the only thing that's necessary is to do this, is to change the font size, right? You can see now that font size is to Poppin now. It's default to Poppin. So this file was only for these true lines, and it wasn't even necessary. Then we have our h1, right? If we see now, we have our h1 here, right? We have our h1. So on this h1 that we have right here, it's h1 that we have, we can just have our ul. In each and every ul, we can have an li, right? For this one, for this li, we can just do like home, right? We can just have home. By default, Tailwind CSS as well is going to remove bullet points and everything that comes defaultly in when we're creating list elements. So if we go back to here, we can see that this CDN automatically hides the bullet points. But if we just copy this and just we're trying to make a simple and nice navigation. So we're gonna have let's just say 3 comments. Let's just say we're gonna have about a link. We're just gonna have contact, right? We're gonna have contact. Then here, let's just say let's just say we're gonna have these 3 elements. But if we go back here, you can see now we have our navigation and that. So if we go back to here, then let's say we want to let's just remove this because we're not going to need it. So let's say we want to say bg of slash in Tailwind we have certain colors. Then if you go to Tailwind's documentation, you can see their color. Let's say we want to use cn cn dash 500. So this is a color in Tailwind CSS. If we go back to the here, you can see now that we have a color. But if you are wondering where I'm getting those colors, you can just come here to their documentation and check colors tab. Then you can see all the colors that Tailwind provides, as well as you can provide your colors, right? So if we go back to our code, then come here. Let's say we come here after BG. What you can do to provide your own custom color is you can use these 2 brackets. Then you specify your color here. You can just specify a real color like a hex code or a color. If it's a hex code, you can say hash 1F. You can see now this is the color 1F. So if you go back here, it's a gray color. You can see it's this nice gray color. But if you go back there and try to do, instead of a hex code, you can just do something like red. It's still a valid color in CSS. You can come back here and you can see that your color is still running. So to provide a custom color, you just have to do something like this, right? So if we're just gonna stick with cn. I think we're gonna stick with cn 500. Then we're gonna do padding of all size. Let's say padding of 2, maybe it will be pretty precise. Padding of 2, but padding of 2 I think is small, but padding of 3. Then we can say flex. Item are gonna be flexed. Then we can say items, right? Items dash center, right? Item center, which means they're gonna be at center. But as well as we can just provide that class here, we can just say flex items center, then a little bit of gap dash 2. We can have a little bit of gap, so you can see that everything is aligned at the same line. But let's say, for example, we want these links to be aligned at the end. So what we can do with that is that we can just come here to the main parent and say justify dash between. Those are Tailwind CSS properties. So now we can see that we have other links in the other side. We have other links in the other side. So now we can just go to this h1 and have a class. So on this class, we're just going to change the text. We're gonna say text dash let's say maybe LG, and then let's say on this one we're just gonna do color, let's say color of white. But let's just say this color, let's just say color must be white. Then for that, we're just gonna go back to this one, and you can see that our nav bar has a little bit big, so we can just say XL, and a little bit of font dash medium. We can have those things of medium. So you can see now that our nav bar is a little bit medium, but we can just make it bold. Yeah, can just make it bold, right? So you can see that our nav bar is bold. So we have the links here and there. So if we just come back here, padding of top and bottom can be 3. So we can just specify py of padding up and in the y-axis. Then padding in the x-axis we can just say 10, so that we have a little bit of breathing room. But I still think that a padding y as well needs to be a little bit so that you can see right here. Then I think the little gap, the gap here needs to be more, maybe let's say 3, gap of 3 in this. So now you can see now they're a little precise. So you can see now that our navigation bar stands out, showing us that this is our heading. So in this case, we're just going to have a background color, BG of dash gray dash 200. Then we're gonna say BG dash opacity of dash 75. Right, I'm gonna say BG dash blur, I think of XL. Let's check. So now you can see we have our slate color, right? We have our slate color. Then we have BG blur of XL. Then we have gray. We have BG opacity of 75. Then BG of 75, or we can just say BG of 65 or something. So let's see what's going on. So our color is more lighter now. It's more lighter. So we can just say let's just go back. Let's say BG of slate dash 100. So we have a slate color here. When we have a slate color, if you go back here, you can see that we have a slate color there. Then when we let's go to this and check our BG. So our BG, let's say our nav color, we want it to be width of screen. We have width of screen and height of screen, right? So it's gonna take the full width of the parent container, right? So but before that, we can just say to test what we have, or we can just do this on our body element. And just try to have a div here. So this div is gonna have a class. When this div have a class, then we're gonna have let's say BG of violet dash 500, right? We're gonna have height of like let's say 10 rem, and width of like 10 rem, right? The width of like 10 rem. When we have those two colors, then this one is gonna be absolute, right? You're gonna have an absolute, and then this one is gonna have that of absolute. So now you can see, okay, let's just go back. Then remember, we had a BG of opacity of 75, right? And then we have a BG of blur, which is large, right? And then now we have a color which is slate, which is 100, right? And then we have our height, which is, let's remove this one. So this one I was just using it to test if our color is our blurry color is really working. But if we go back here, you can see now under the navigation bar here that our blurry color, it's working, right? You can see underneath this one, underneath this header tab, that what our color is working. But we can just do like, we can just say come to the body and do the class and say this one is going to be the BG of dash slate, which is dash 200 or 100. Did we say 100, right? 100. Then we can just do that. Then from that we can know that we can just take all our black drop, slate and everything, and BG of this color. Let's cut this and just put it here, right? We can just put it there so that our blurry color comes in the at the body, right? And as well as we're just gonna say this color is gonna be absolute, and we're just gonna say Z of dash we're just gonna say negative Z. We're gonna say -z, we're gonna say 1 2 3, so that our div comes underneath. So our this one is gonna be relative, right? So the z index of this one is gonna be 1 2 3. Let's say this z index of this one is gonna be this color. So let's go back. So our body element, we can just not do it on the body element. We can just I'm even doing this wrong. So we can just, because the body is always going to be the same, it's not going to be on top of any section by default. That is by default. Then let's just make a section class and put all the relative elements that we have, right? So all the relative element that we have, and then this one is going to be the element that is going to take the width of screen. When we say width of screen, we are saying take everything, right? Height of screen. Then this one is going to be that. So this one is going to be our full element, which is going to cover everything. So right, so if let's go back and check our code, so we can see that our element is full screen. Then we can just come here to this one and say absolute. This is an absolute element. Then we can just do like, it needs to be underneath all the elements. So it's gonna be underneath all the elements. Let's go back. This one is gonna be it's gonna be relative. So this one is gonna be on top. This one is gonna be on top. So this one is gonna be on top by default. Then if we remove this div, let's remove this div first. Then if we remove that div, we know that now our background color is slate, right? Our background color is slate. Then for us to have an element underneath, let's just say we're just going to, let's just remove this class from this body, and then we have our section, right? Let's just format this using formatter with Prettier. So this is formatted so that we can see properly. Then we have on our section, we have this div which has the height of screen, then that has the blurry and the slate of 100 and black drop of blur. Then we have this one. So when we have this one, we can just say this one is, let's just say this one is gonna, background BG is gonna be white, right? Let's say this BG is gonna be white. Then when we go back there, we can see now that this one, this color, this one, this gray color is blurry, right? So we can just prove that by let's say we need a simple div here that's going to act as a color underneath. We can have class. Then for this one, we can have BG of dash violet dash 500, right? And then we can say we need it to be absolute, right? Our div is going to be absolute, so we need to give it height of 20 and width of 20. Those are the two things that we need to give our div. So if you see now, okay, let's just do it like this, and then try to say our navigation bar must not have any color. If you try to go back now and see, now you can see now that our element, it's behind there, right? You can see that our element, it's behind there. Then we want what? We want this navigation bar to take that glossy effect. See now, we see that this has our glossy effect. So if we now come back to this one, to this section, so we can just take this blurry color and put it on our navigation. If you go back there, now you can see now our navigation has a blurry effect. So we can just remove our section. That was our testing section. So that was our testing section. So now you can see that our navigation bar is still blurry. then we can just go back to our code. Then from that we can just give this width of like 20 rem, right? We can just give this the width of 20 rem. So if you see, we give this width of 20 rem, you can see now that it's squinched on the center. We can just say 50, right? So we have this 50. So when we have this 50 right here, we're just going to say margin X of auto. So margin X of auto will just take the element and put it at the center based on the screen size, right? If we have a bigger screen, it means the element is going to be what? At the center. So when you say margin top, we're gonna say 10. So now you see that we have margin of 10. We have a margin of 10. Now after giving that margin of 10, now we can hide this element that we wanted to see if our navbar is glossy. Then if you go back, remember we had padding of X, padding X of 10. We can just have padding X of something like 4, so that our element could be there. Then we can have a rounded of dash full. Rounded of dash full, we're just saying okay, be rounded fully, right? You can see now it's rounded fully, but we can just do margin of 6, right? So you can just do margin of this color. So what else can we do? We can just when we have this nav bar, we can have something like links on this one. We can have an anchor tag, So on this anchor tag that we have right here, we can just put this here, and in this anchor tag we can just do an href. So this one is going to be pound, which means this one is not going anywhere. So we can just do copy, paste. So which means we're gonna have about, then we're gonna have contact, which means we no longer need these two, so that these two now becomes link. So when we're on them, we can see that they are linked. So what we can do on this element is just that we can just do a class name. We can just do a class name of padding of dash we can just say 0.5 rem. So we're gonna say rounded of dash full, and then we can just do hover. So on hover, you can just do hover. So on hover, we want it to have the BG of dash slate dash maybe 300. Then let's try it out and see our navigation. So you can see now we have more padding. So what we can do is that we can just come back to this one and do padding of py. Where is py? So py, let's just remove that. You can see now that our navigation is squished, so we can just decrease that. So when we hover on this one, you can see now that we have a link like so. When you hover on this one, so we can just do this as 3. Could be more, it could be better, so we can just do this at more 3. So then when you hover on our link, then you can see now that we have a simple navigation bar stacked at the top, which is even glossy. Then to see that if our element is glossy, we can just come to here and do another section. So our navigation bar, we can just set this is a fixed element, so that it get fixed at the top. So now you can see that our element is now at the top. Then for this one, we can just say we want this to have class, and then we need to have flex, then we need justify not between but center. Just because we are doing this on the body, just because we're going to have a single element, right? So for the section, we can just say we can just have a section, these sections, right, where we're gonna hover. So if we just highlighted this and press shift arrow down, I'll just copy, paste, 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 paste. Then if you go back, you can see now that our element are at the top, just because what? Just because our element is what? Just because our element is fixed, right? So we can just do something like class. We can just do something like class, something like class. So in this class that we have right here, we can just do margin top of like let's say 50 rem, so that I just want to show you that our element is glossy. Then you can see that this element is at the top. Then what we can do right here, we can just say 10 rem, right? It's still too big, so we're gonna say, let's just say 4 rem. Just want to show you something, that our element is glossy. Then let's just say the text, change the text of this element, change the text to violet dash 500, so that you see that our element is glossy. So that if we zoom in here, you can see that here we have a blurry color. But let's just say our section now, let's just say our section, let's say our section, instead of text, let's just do BG, right? Let's just do BG, so that you can see that our text, our element is now glossy. If you can see here, it has a purple effect. So this is the simple way that you can do a glossy navigation bar.